On this episode of the Wrestling Strength Podcast, I am joined by two of my longtime athletes, Ohio State University Wrestling All-Americans, Ethan Smith and Kaleb Romero. This was a really fun one. We dug into a lot of great topics with college wrestling, and I've known these guys since the day they stepped foot on campus, so it was really a lot of fun for us to catch up. You guys want to tune into the show. A lot of knowledge here for coaches and parents. Yo, welcome back to the Wrestling Strength Podcast. I am your host, Coach Myers, and as always, the Wrestling Strength Podcast is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. Make sure you go to maxeffortmuscle.com for all your supplement needs. We have our world-famous Build-A-Stack option. You can get any 3 products plus a free swag item, usually a super comfy and soft t-shirt. If you're watching right now on YouTube, you can tell it's one of these right here, a nice hot pink logo. You can grab a t-shirt and any 3 supplements for $110 or do our XL stack, any 5 products. And a lot of times we'll do like a hoodie deal or some type of bigger swag item with that. And that is $175. Now we got some new flavors coming out soon. We have a new exciting product that is going to be really big in the wrestling space and the endurance athlete space. I'm not allowed to talk about it yet, but just kind of put that on your radar. We do have a new product coming out specifically for wrestlers, combat athletes, and endurance athletes. That's going to be coming out this spring. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at MaxEffortMuscle and go to maxeffortmuscle.com to order. Now, we also have another keynote sponsor here at the Wrestling Strength Podcast, and that is Ice Barrel. Ice Barrel is a cold therapy training tool that makes it simple and easy to bring your ice baths to your routine. Now, if you guys follow along on Instagram, you know that I use cold contrasting therapy with my sauna. I do it multiple times per week, and it has been an incredible game changer for me. I did it this morning, actually, which is why I'm kind of mellow and zen-like right now. But and I'm going to use that as an excuse of maybe why I didn't quite keep up on the bench press with my 2 guests when I introduce them here in a little bit. But so definitely has been a complete game changer for me from a recovery and inflammation standpoint. My body was really beat up from this week's of training so far, but now I feel incredible. But the most beneficial part of using Ice Barrel for me is the mental and cognitive benefits. Just my stress level is way down. I sleep so much better, so much more even keeled, and it is just really. Anyone that I've introduced it to, it's been huge for helping them kind of conquer their fears and conquer anxiety. So I know anyone that's listening, especially if you're an athlete or if you are, in a high stress profession, whether you're a firefighter or an attorney or a coach or whatever it is where you got a lot of stress in your life, you can definitely use an Ice Barrel in your life. It's durable, it's compact, it's portable, it's lightweight. You can throw it over your shoulder. You can carry it anywhere. It's made in the USA, actually right here in Ohio. Using 100% recycled ingredients. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee, a lifetime limited warranty, and they also have financing available. Now, with its sleek design and compact footprint, Ice Barrel makes it easy to experience the benefits of cold therapy from the convenience of your home. And Ice Barrel is going to give you, the Wrestling Strength Podcast listeners, $125 off when you go to icebarrel.com and use the code WRESTLING at checkout. If wrestling doesn't work, you can use gut check, but I think both those codes still work. So use wrestling at checkout. That's ICEBARREL.com, icebarrel.com. Get your Ice Barrel delivered, free shipping, $125 off. Use code wrestling, get it delivered straight to your door. Get colder and feel better. Now, we also have another sponsor here at the Wrestling Strength Podcast, and that is Sam Adams. And I wasn't even gonna mention Sam Adams, but I think it's probably appropriate to have a little Sam Adams in our life this time of year because it's a celebratory time. This is kind of an end of an era and kind of start of new beginnings for my 2 guests I got on today. So without further ado, I got my guys, Ethan Smith, Kaleb Romero. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Not much. We're just kind of been lazy recently because like Coach Myers said, we just had a pretty good national tournament.
No, you guys had a great tournament. You guys had like the perfect cap to great careers,
Yeah.
I mean, you see so many guys that have great careers, but maybe they don't end up All-American their last year or even to win your last match. I think is a huge thing. No, Grundy, you placed sixth before, right? Fifth. All right, so you had placed sixth before.
Yep.
How much better does third or seventh feel versus sixth or fourth? You know what I mean? I just think that to end on a win just feel, at least to me mentally, I think got to feel so much better.
Yeah. Especially that last match, you know, because you're already down in the dumps because, you know, once you take that first loss, the dream of being an NCAA champion is just, you know, it's smashed right then and there. So especially being your last year, it's really easy to just kind of slide out. And it happened to me last year. You know, I lost in the blood round, so some PTSD when I was out there in the blood round again. But yeah, I mean, it was really good to go out on a note. I know Saturday night with the team wouldn't have been near as fun had I taken eighth instead of seventh. And just the biggest thing is just to show Buckeye fans and the rest of the teams, like, you just go out, you get out swinging. You get out swinging, man.
Do you think it was, you know, that blood round loss from last year, was that in your mind this year? Or do you have to kind of just lock that up in a box and forget about it? Or was it?
It was prevalent. I mean, I got the draw of the same Stanford kid that had beat me previously in the first round, you know, when I got upset. So I had that anxiety, like, just right away. You know, I ended up having a tight match with him. I'm just so much of a better wrestler than that guy.
We kept giving him crap before. We were like, dude, don't let it happen again.
and I put myself in a spot where I was, like, so nervous. Like, I kind of did. Like, I was on the ropes, like 6'5", I think it was in the end of the match score. But, yeah, I remember going out there for my blood round. I was thinking about, like, you know, I was here last time. I was even up, like, 7-3 last year, and I lost. But, you know, I just stayed focused. I was just, like, the younger guys is really what kind of, I think, sparked the round that we had. Jesse and Dylan wrestled incredible. So just seeing them pull through, I was just like, dude, this guy's not taking this from me this year. I got it done.
And for me, it's always, for both the past 2 years, I was in the blood round with him, and I feel like he was the match before me the past 2 years too. Like, as he was walking out, or walking off the mat, I was walking in. And so, I don't know, this year is just
to see him come
so
off with
much,
a win.
yeah, this year is just so much sweeter. I was just like, let's go. Like, and it just kind of helped propel me too in that match as well. So, it's just cool to, watch him solidify that All-American status one more time.
Dude, Kaleb, what a end to your career too, to get what I feel like might be the signature win of your whole career as a Buckeye, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, Hidley is one of those guys. You hadn't beat him before, had you?
No.
I feel like there was kind of like a, you know, obviously you were in the conversation every year, but there was a small handful of guys that you hadn't got over the hump with.
Yeah, I think it was the 1, 2, and 3 guys that I couldn't. I beat everyone else. I could not beat the one. And they were all really close. I think by a point. I lost every single one of them, but I just couldn't get over that hump.
And finally to end your career on that note, to like get that signature win over, you know, one of the top guys that had kind of dogged you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was awesome. I was just pretty much like, the win was great, but like the thought of us as a team getting that team trophy. And I know, we're like making it some big thing. Like, it was 4th place. We wanted 1st place. So we're not trying to like have some huge celebration. Like, that's not the standard for Ohio State wrestling.
Well, the standard can be here. That doesn't mean you still can't celebrate.
Yeah, that's
for it,
true.
You know
that's true. But like I said, we hadn't gotten a trophy yet, and that was one of our goals at the beginning of the year. We knew.
Wait, hold on. So you guys hadn't got the team trophy since you've been there?
No,
because
we can't say we would have, but in 2020
when
it got
would have
canceled,
been the best shot.
Then,
for sure.
we would have done really well. And then I guess we did when we were redshirt freshmen. They got,
but it's different when you're not in the lineup.
Yeah,
you know?
When we were actually.
So it's like we haven't gotten a trophy when we both like been able to contribute to team points. At the NCAA.
And so,
did you wrestle that redshirt year?
I wrestled.
The years are all starting to run together for me.
Yeah, so it was like red shirt. No, then I did 174, but I didn't place. But I won 2 matches, but I didn't place though. And then 165 was canceled year, and then 65, 74, 74.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so back on that, I was so amped up about the team race. Like, that kind of is what propelled me through that consolation side of the bracket. Like he said, I agree with everything Grundy just said. It sucks when you know you have that goal of being a national champion, and it gets blown away like that. But you gotta come back, and you gotta fight for your team. and more importantly, yourself and the sacrifices that you made for the last 20 years. So the next best thing that I could do was third, and I knew it was my last time I'm ever going to compete, and I put everything out there.
Yeah, that the leading up to the blood round, I think, was just really cool, and how that night ended up. It's like we weren't thinking of team trophy, like,
no,
at all.
not at all.
And
we were
so
deflated a little bit.
So so the blood rounds are sad or Friday night, right? So our Friday morning, I don't think it didn't go well.
Like the quarterfinals was a bad round.
A lot of us
lost. Yeah, and then some of us had lost the night before, so it was looking down the dumps. Like we weren't even close to the top four. And
trust me, I'm like getting texts from like buddies I know. They're like, "Oh, fire Tom Ryan." I'm like, easy. Everyone just needs to chill.
It's crazy.
It's early in the tournament.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm exaggerating with the fire Tom Ryan. You know what I'm saying?
I can't remember who exactly, but like once the blood round started rolling, like I remember being in the back and we were like, dude, what place are we in? We're like, we're storming back. Like, we can do this.
Yeah, Jaggers had his little piece of paper with all the points, and he was just like, if we punch through, like 7 or 8 of you, he's like, we might be getting a trophy. And like it didn't like set in. I'm just like, oh snap! Like
you thought that ship had sailed.
Yeah, I'm like, are you like that's not even possible, right? And so then Mendez goes out there. D'Amelio, dude,
what a fucking tournament from D'Amelio.
Works so freaking hard, man. And the win, they say he had Real Woods beat. So let's say
for sure
on the podcast, right? He had that.
Listen, I'm not an expert, but I'm saying that was 2.
Yeah,
that was
for sure.
Takeout.
It was 2 here, then it was 2 there.
And
it should have been 2
dog tired too.
Right.
That was a takedown all day. So he wrestled.
Yeah, then they give him 8 minutes to
recover.
Exactly.
Whatever.
That's
what D'Amelio had him like falling over. He was so tired.
Anyway, but we're gonna move past that.
Yeah.
So just him having that match and then storming back and then beating the 3 seed Cole Matthews. I think has beaten him every time since. Yeah. I know Dylan beat him at the home duel in Cabelli one year, but I think since then he's beaten him. To just like I don't know, 2 top tier guys like that he just had on the ropes is just. That's a D'Amelio I've been wanting to see for so long because he's had it in him.
Yeah, and that's the one that like we know too. Like we see how hard, like he's easily one of the hardest workers in the room. Always doing extra, always doing the right things.
Well, and he has the ability
and
too.
That's the thing. Like he's a 4-time Ohio high school state champion. Like we know how good he is. It just sometimes it's hard. It's hard to put it out there in a match. Like it's tough. And
well, think back to even like say your redshirt freshman season.
Yeah.
You're all world coming in. Top recruit or whatever. And I think people expect excellence and success instantly. They don't understand how hard college wrestling is and how hard it is to make that gap. I mean, now you see more and more guys coming in as redshirt freshmen or true freshmen having really success, but it's not as common or as easy as people think.
Yeah.
So a guy like you come in, maybe you don't meet up to the expectations that the fans have for you, which are unrealistic anyway. Mm-hmm. And they're like ready to write you off after 1 year.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he was a 4-time champ here in Ohio. Why is he not an All-American day one? It's like, dude, this shit is hard.
It's freaking tough.
It's tough. So even a guy like D'Amelio, maybe some fans have already wrote him off until this year or whatever. Yeah. And now he still has, I think, 2 more years of eligibility with the COVID year.
I think 2 years is right. And even during the year too, like he just couldn't seem to like get it done out there. He was having nail biter matches and like he was on the losing end of a lot of them. And to just see him,
I think sometimes when you start in anything, whether we're talking about whether it's any competition, any sport, wrestling, MMA, track, whatever, if you get used to losing the close ones, it just becomes easier to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because you probably start to feel like, oh, it's happening again. Yeah. I'm right there and it's going to slip away. But on the flip side of that is if you're used to winning the close ones, then you believe you can do it when you're in those 50-50 situations.
I agree. Yeah.
So how did let's kind of rewind it then while we're on that subject of like the red shirt in the early years. How did you guys, both of you, like I said, with you being a 4-time champ, Grundy, you were a Flow national champ, coming in. We talked about that a little bit when we were out there lifting. How did you guys deal with those expectations of coming in? You guys obviously have high hopes. The coaching staff had high hopes for both of you guys, and you probably fell a little bit short of your own expectations those first years.
Yeah, I would say for me, it was tough, and that's another thing. Like the fans and trolls on the internet, whatever. I mean, we don't really like take in account. Like we never take into account what they say. We see it, it's not like it affects us at all. But they don't understand like what athletes go through on off the mat and stuff as well. Like that's a big part. Like that can be hindering stuff. And so I would say for me coming into college, I had 2 serious injuries. My parents were getting divorced. Like there was a lot of
people
things.
don't take all the family issues and things in.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a lot of things going on off the mat.
Why does Kaleb seem distracted? Well, maybe his parents are getting divorced. Have you ever thought about that?
For real.
It's a big deal.
Maybe
a bigger deal than wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the kid was up 3:30, 4 in the morning studying for an exam because he's about to fail his classes or something. Like you just never know. Like it's life comes at you every day, and everyone just thinks it should be, oh, you're an athlete. Like like you should just go out there and perform, and it's that easy. No, it's hard as shit. So so I was dealing with a lot of things in my life with injuries and everything, and so it didn't come quick for me. College wrestling's really freaking hard too, and I don't know. For me though, as I knew how hard I worked my whole life. I want to be really successful. Like I want to succeed, and I was going to keep fighting and do everything I can to reach those goals that I had for myself. So even though I was down and it looked like I wasn't going to turn into anything, I just stayed the course and kept fighting.
I always believed. I knew it was going to happen.
That's why you're my guy.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think for me, I didn't really have a lot of high expectations for myself at first. I was never top 3 in the rankings. I was always like 9. I think the highest I ever was like 5 or 4 at the time. So I was never like that top guy where I think everyone's expectations of me were super high. And actually growing up and my journey to Ohio State was like a lot of people would just be like, well, you're never going to go there. It's like at one point I was in Grundy, Virginia, like no one even knows.
Yeah, I think you kind of, even though you were a Latrobe guy originally, you kind of flew under the radar recruiting wise a little bit because you moved around. You were in Maryland, you were in Virginia. And
so we always have to move around because of my dad. Obviously that was tough, being able to find new clubs, fit in, in high school teams. So that was always a tough transition. But yeah, it flew under the radar, and then I was just never had high expectations. So when I got here, I always had that underdog mindset anyway. So I always felt like I needed to prove myself. And for me, it was just success didn't come right away. Environmental factors, home life, relationships were always I think a big hindering factor for me in my wrestling in my early years. And actually, one of the biggest things that helped me there was a noticeable jump in my careers when I started using our sports psychiatrist at Ohio State. Helped me tremendously. And there was a noticeable difference from when I started that, like my wrestling before that and then my wrestling after that. I just looked like a different man because like I was, so.
I think there's such a stigma, with guys in general, in athletes in general, but definitely like in wrestling, like, oh, we're supposed to be mentally tough. So like to say like, oh, I need to go to therapy or talk to a sports psychologist or ask for help with something I'm dealing with. Like there's a stigma attached to it, but there shouldn't be. Yeah. Because if you are dealing with things mentally like that you need to work through, how can you go out and perform at a super high level? And like you said, once you were able to use the resource of a sports psychologist, your performance changed.
Yeah, tremendously. And the biggest thing was you can do all the lifting and the training and stuff, but if you're not okay in your mind, you're really hindering your best chance to succeed out there. So that was huge for me. Because I had the physical, my technique was there, but I was always my own worst enemy. So helped out tremendously.
What do you think was one of the things you kind of learned in those sessions that maybe could have good carryover to like any high school kid that's listening or whatever, that maybe help from a performance standpoint?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like you gotta love and forgive yourself. And you gotta really block out what other people are thinking. So you can really get wrapped up in even like what your parents think, what your coaches think, what fans think, but it only matters what you think when you go out there. So that was something. And then, if you're really hard on yourself all the time, if you mess up and make mistakes, whether that, whatever aspect of life it's in, you got to, forgive and let go. So that was a big thing for me. I think was just
Like you almost hold a grudge against yourself for
Yeah.
losing or whatever.
you can really beat yourself up sometimes. That's really hindering to what you can do out there. So that's what I would tell kids. Whenever I go and do camps, I always just tell them, hey, love yourself. Think about, what you can do, is your coaches and your parents can lead you, in whatever direction they want. But ultimately, like, it's you out there. You got to decide it for yourself.
So Kaleb, one of the things I feel like I noticed from you, like after watching your first couple years to watching, these last 2 or 3 years, one of the noticeable differences, at least from the outside looking in, seemed like you weren't going out just to wrestle and like, keep it close. Now you were constantly trying to score, constantly trying to dominate. And maybe you were originally, but that's not what it looked like, for me watching.
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest thing? I mean, obviously you were strong before, you were in shape before, so it wasn't like, oh, I need to protect my conditioning or whatever. What do you think what made that switch with you mentally?
Yeah, I think that is, and for me, like, I don't think I got, over those years, like, I don't think I got that much better at wrestling. Like, obviously I improved in a lot of areas and stuff, but
You didn't learn a bunch of new moves.
Yeah, exactly. I do the same stuff, really. For me, and that's why the mental battle of just, if that's competition anxiety or whatever it is, the mental battle is like, I feel like for most people, it's like 70 or 80% of the wrestling. It's just if you can control your mind before you go out on the mat, then that's going to dictate how you wrestle. So earlier in my career, I was dealing with injuries and things like that like when I was walking out on the mat, I'm like, and I'm thinking all these crazy thoughts in my head, and then I'm like, am I going to be able to do this because my elbow, and you just have so many, and you're second guessing yourself the whole entire time. So if you're doing that, if that's what you're thinking about before you go out there and when you're on the mat, how are you supposed to win the match?
Right.
You're not going to be able to. So
Any type of hesitancy like that, you're not going to be able to wrestle freely.
exactly. And so I don't know, my mindset just switched when I was at World Team Trials, I think after my second year, and I got fourth at World Team Trials. It was off-season freestyle tournament, and I kind of was just like this tournament doesn't mean anything. Just go out, just go out, wrestle free. Just don't care about anything, don't care about anyone. Just go out and wrestle free. And I obviously didn't win that tournament, but like I wrestled. That was like the freest I've felt. And like the best I've.
And you
I
beat
felt
some
like
good
I've wrestled.
guys. You competed hard.
And so from there on out, I just kind of kept getting in that mindset before I go out and on the mat is just to wrestle, just kind of calm your mind, like relax and just try to just think of nothing before you go out there. That was a big thing for me. And then one more is just honestly to wrap around, like get it in my head how hard it's going to be out there. Like how much you're
just to already accept that it's going
to be. Just to wrap it around. Like, I don't even know the figure of speech that I'm thinking of right now, but just to.
No, you just accept that it's going to be really difficult. It's going to hurt.
Understand that you're going to be extremely tired out there and you're going to have to push through it and just continue to fight. So when I go out on the mat, just in my mind, I just say, stay in the fight or expect to fight. Just something about fighting the whole entire time, because even if you're the number one guy and you're wrestling an unranked dude, like even if you're tech following him, it's so hard to do that. Like
so tired.
it's so. I think it's
so
sometimes it's more tiring to tech fall a kid who's not very good than to be in a tight 3-2 match with a really good guy. Because typically, if it's like that, you're like hand fighting a lot, and it's just like it's more slower pace because you guys know you're both really good and you kind of are just anticipating each other. But when you have to go out there for 7 minutes and just cut him, take him down, cut him, move, like take him down, cut him, like it's exhausting. So yeah, I just wrap my head around is no matter who I'm wrestling or what's gonna happen, expect to get freaking tired and fight through it. So.
Yeah, and the thing that goes on perfectly with that is taking something during matches that you can create growth from. So if you're going in your match and you're thinking of only win or lose, that's not sustainable to create growth in your wrestling. If you're instead looking at like, even if I lose this match, can I is there something I can train my mind to take something positive from it anyway? So whether it was I'm going to take a certain amount of shots, I'm going to, make sure I'm giving maximum effort for 7 minutes. Like, was my effort there? I lost, but like, was I on the tack the whole time? I think that is something that you can take more and grow yourself versus, well, I won, cool, or I lost. So like, what I mean?
because you can still wrestle bad or maybe not try your best and still win a match.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, now as a youth wrestling coach, I preach to my kids, and my son. I'm like, you just have to, obviously you want to, hit moves with good technique and stay in good position. But I was like, if you just go out and fight the whole time, you just try hard, you're going to win a lot of matches.
And that's why I like that mindset as well. Or like, I try to, that's like all I focus on when I go out there, is because even like you see upsets happen all the time. And a lot of those upsets are because a top guy overlooks a non-top guy. And then when you're out there as the top guy, like it's happened to the best of us, the guy that you're wrestling that you're supposed to beat up, he's fighting every position really hard, and then you start to stress out, and then you start getting really tired.
Like, well,
it's
harder than I thought it was going to be.
Then you're in the second period, and it's 0-0 with a guy, and you're like breathing super heavy, like stressing out, and then that's why upsets usually happen. It's because you didn't prepare yourself for how hard it was going to be, no matter who it was.
Well, that right there just shows how much of a factor the mental side of it is.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to win, So even when the number one guy goes out and gets upset, it's not that they didn't want to win.
Yeah.
It's just they weren't mentally prepared for how tough it was going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. People don't think it's, well, I got to do extra push-ups and stuff. The mental side to it is crucial.
Well, and I'm a big believer in, you can gain part of that mental edge by having confidence in your training, by having confidence in your conditioning. And if you get used to making yourself really uncomfortable in training, then it's not as unfamiliar of a physical feeling whenever you're in a match or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. Obviously, you can gain so much confidence from that training because you know how hard you worked, and you have all the, and like even you can gain confidence in your coaches, and like all those things, and they can help so much. But like for me, like I feel like I would rather have a wrestler who's not as prepared, but mentally, I'm going to go out there and fight as hard as possible, and I don't care about winning or losing, than a person who is over or like has prepared to the best of their ability, but goes out there second guessing themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's how much I believe in the mental aspect. I feel like
it's so hard to get to that place, though, right?
Yeah, it is. Like I feel like at some point the mental aspect can trump the training.
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about the Division I level where, everyone's good. Mm-hmm. You're not going to wrestle anyone that actually sucks.
Yeah.
It just don't happen. In high school, you're going to see kids who are really good, and they might wrestle a kid who's terrible. And it doesn't matter how mentally strong that terrible kid is. Yeah. You got a boy wrestling a man, mm-hmm. or someone that has only been wrestling for 2 years versus someone's been going to club their whole life, and it just is what it is. But the D1 level, everyone's so good.
And yeah, that's a good point, because at this level, everyone's training super hard. You like to, a lot of times you like to think like you're out working someone and stuff, but everyone wants to be the best. Like everyone at this level is so good, and they're training so hard that people are really training probably pretty similar across,
there's
programs.
differences, but they're small.
Yeah, they're
right?
small. But
one of my favorite interviews I saw with Tom, I think it was after we lost to Virginia Tech, one of the years recently.
Yeah,
and they were kind of grilling him a little bit, and he's like, "Look, we don't have a monopoly on being tough or wanting to win or trying hard. Yeah. They want to win too. They're tough too. And it is the reality of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe there's differences within a program. There's differences within coaching. And obviously there's differences in athletes. But when everyone's that good, everyone's trying hard. Everyone's working hard. It's the little things that are the separators.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm definitely not – I'm not saying training doesn't work at all, because obviously you need to train as hard as possible and continue training to be the best. But it's just – I think that if you can master the mental part, that's what's really going to set you apart from the greats.
For sure. I think the point of that, though, is that everyone at the level you guys competed at is training hard and wants to be the best, and it has great resources and was a good athlete, or they wouldn't be there in the first place.
When you wake up, everyone's doing the prescription, right? Yeah. So everyone's got probably their morning lift or their workout, and then practice in the evening. So everyone's doing that. So if you're going into a match and it's like, okay, well, I'm done what the coaches told me. It's like, well, everyone freaking did that. Like every program in the country, like they're doing what their coaches tell them. So, I agree that the extra training does give you a mental edge in your confidence. So any extra stuff that you're doing outside of the prescription that everyone else is freaking doing,
It's gonna help. Yeah.
it's going to help master that side of yourself.
So with that being said, I mean, you guys have competed for so long. You guys were in college, it feels like, for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a decade.
But
Trust me, it feels like it.
how did it feel to come out and lift today just to lift?
Oh, cool. I
Yeah.
liked it. I wasn't being told I had to do it. That's probably the best thing about it.
Yeah, and
Well, put it this way. If you guys came out the podcast today and I said, all right, we're going to bench, and you guys said, no, I don't want to lift, I would have still made you. So
yeah.
I guess – but I
True.
made sure I tailored the workout to something I knew you guys would want to do.
Yeah, for sure. No, and yeah, we were speaking on it earlier, obviously, but it's just there's always a stress in the back of your head, no matter if you're consciously thinking about it or not, about the NCAA tournament the next year. Like,
So
it's
even when it's March after the
exactly.
tournament.
So like, let's just use this for example. Say we had one more year. Imagine. Say we had one more year, and we were back in here lifting today. There would be like this little stress, even though we have almost a year until nationals, that just in the back of your head that you have to do everything you can in that lift to be the best. Like I don't know how to completely explain it, but you just know it's there, so you have to do everything perfect, and you want to give everything you can. But now, knowing that we're not competing, like it just feels good and free. Like
You can actually
freely.
lift free
Like,
today.
yeah, like you just, I don't know. There's like a weight off your shoulders.
Maybe your lifting's finally going to go to the next level.
Yeah.
This is the next level psychology of it. You're going to be able to bench freely for once.
Yeah, do you know how to explain it a little better?
I don't know. I think it's like, even if it was wrestling practice, maybe not even a lift. Like it's just because like you're not choosing. Well, you're choosing to be there, but you're like, well, I have to be here. Because if I take the day off, I might lose in the blood round in 302 days. Whatever it is. So it's an added layer of stress, but that's the gig.
Well, you think about it. Let's say if you guys did have another year, it's the NCAA tournament's technically a little less than a year away, but it's really not a year away. The season starts in 5 or 6 months when preseason starts.
It literally goes like that.
It goes so fast. I think it's something, especially young athletes need to realize. Time goes quick, and really everything matters. Everything between now and the next state tournament for my high school kids, every workout really does matter. But I think mentally it can be easy for them to kind of check out and think, well, I'll start training hard again like before school starts, or I'll lift a little bit over the summer or whatever. But if you're not laying a good foundation now, it's really taking away from what's going to happen at the end of next year.
I think it's that too, is because I know I did it when high school. I really cherished each moment this year. Like I understood how quick it was going to go. So I tried to stay present and just enjoy every time. Like every time I walked on the mat, I would just look up and just look at the crowd. And because we would always talk about it. I'm like, dude, we're never going to feel anything like this ever again. Like the feelings that you get warming up for a match, the feelings that you get out there competing, looking up, seeing thousands of fans, like we're never going to be in this moment ever again. But yeah, like when I was in high school and like earlier in my career, that like you always hear the old people say, take advantage of it. It goes quick. Like you just kind of brush that off because you're like, I don't know, like I got 6 more years. You tell me it's gonna go quick.
Yeah,
and
it sounds so long when you're young.
Yeah,
it goes
and then
quick.
it goes right away, and
so
you wish you could do it again. So,
Dude, the thing for me that I would compare it to is like being a father. My kids now are 11 and 13, and I think it was last summer. Me and Julie are kind of planning out like trips for the summer, or like what concerts we're gonna go to, and we're looking at it. And I started thinking about it. I started doing the math. I'm like, all right, at that time my daughter's 12, and I think, all right, we've got basically 6 more years. You start thinking about how many actual weekends in the summer you have with them until they're grown up and gone. And the number is not that big.
yeah.
You start really crossing them off. You start thinking, man, like I need to really make sure all these count. It's easy to like get lost in the flow of things and just think like, well, this weekend don't matter. This little thing we're going to go to doesn't matter. But it goes by quick. And before you know it, my kids will have kids.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? It's wild.
That is wild.
Yeah, like for the longest time, I never pictured just being done with wrestling. It's just That's all I've done my whole life.
Yeah,
for literally almost every single day of my life.
Yeah.
It's
like
weird.
this past week and a half since Tulsa has been, it's just felt so weird.
Yeah.
Because in past, post natty weeks, it's like, well, yeah, we're having fun. We have our little party week or whatever. And
But
it's
in the back of your head
in the back
still.
of your head,
Yeah,
and
like you can't fully enjoy it because you're like, and don't get us wrong. Like we have like these goals of winning national titles and doing things. So we want to we want to do these workouts and we want to do all this because we have our goals. But it's just the stressor that we're talking about, no matter what.
So, in years past, so I know this year they're giving the guys that are coming back who competed at nationals 2 weeks off. But in previous years, we've only gotten a full week off. So
Right.
you do all that freaking training that really matters and is crucial over the summer in preseason. Then you're in the gauntlet of what is the Big Ten season, and they're like 1 week off. And then you're waking up for 6:30 lifts and practice.
Well, and Tom, I think, has gotten a lot, he's toned it down a lot too. Because I can remember when I was running the strength program for the team, I remember they would have like a week off after nationals, if a week, maybe 5 days. And they would come back and he would want me to do like strongman workouts with him the first week. I can remember Logan, like maybe his like sophomore year, look at me, he's like, no, he's like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like I'm all gung ho. I'm like, I'm getting to run the workouts now. I'm like so excited. But he looked at, he's like, I was just competing at nationals. So you have no idea like how beat up I am. Like, so thankfully he's toned it down a little bit.
He has. And I'm super grateful for, I know he can speak to this as well as our coaches. Like we have a super good relationship with all of them, and they have a great plan for our team and stuff all the time. So I couldn't be more grateful for them, and I just had to put that out there because they're all my guys, and we're all best friends.
The relationship with the coach, especially this year, is like we've seen a lot of guys come and go, in our time here. And just this year specifically, the energy and the relationships between us as athletes and the coaches has just never been, I think, this smooth. Like it really does feel like we've all known each other for so long. It feels like a huge family. And it was incredible.
And I'd say even the young guys too. Like
even
I just feel like, I don't know, there was a different type of bond this year. Like
it's like, I think it was just like you could feel the energy in the room. Everyone, like even though it looked daunting at certain times during the year, no one in the room lost faith that we wanted to take home a team trophy. And like that was really, you could feel it when you walked in the room. Everyone in there was busting their butts.
Maybe one time when we got dead last at
I think people saw that. People saw that. It's like, dude, we were wrestling with like 5 people. And half of our lineup was out. Like, and everyone's like, well, you guys didn't get top 8. It's like, we had 3 or 4 guys wrestling out there. Whatever man the number.
3.5
we sent half the team.
Right? So.
Well, I'll tell you what's kind of wild for me. I mean, obviously I'm still, kind of loosely, involved or affiliated with the program, and then, still through the RTC, working with Colin and those guys. But you guys were the last group that really that I trained as the main strength coach down there. Yeah. So I don't know whether it was like your redshirt year or your regular freshman year.
Redshirt year.
Yeah. So that even just shows for me how much time has passed to where, for 6 years or so, around 6 years, I was driving there 3 days a week, year round, So it's kind of an end of an era for me too. I'm always going to, feel tied to the wrestling bucks and stuff. But the reality of it is there's going to be guys coming through who might not even know who I am.
Yeah. I know that is weird to think about.
I know.
Because, I was talking about it with Sasa the other day too. Because, Sasa's a big gut check guy as well.
So they came in for that summer too.
Yeah, he was there that summer, and we were just talking about how, we missed you in the summers, just doing all the workouts, but the strongman stuff and all the fun, just the camaraderie that we all had, in the summers and stuff. It was always a good time.
Well, it's something good too. I mean, that's a bond. You talk about the bond with the coach or whatever. Like we have a bond and a friendship for life. It was more than just doing strength workouts or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's how, and I feel like that's just our program as a whole. Like, we got blessed with, unfortunately, with your situation when you kind of they screwed you out of. I
don't know. We didn't say that.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? I'll expand on because I've never talked about it on the podcast because a lot of people always ask me like, why don't you coach at Ohio State or anything? I mean, really, what it boils down to is, for years we found a sweet spot where I could be employed by the RTC and not by Ohio State, but they could still have me train the team through the RTC because everyone on the team is RTC eligible.
Yeah.
Well, eventually the administration at Ohio State, they wanted to create a position within Ohio State so that way it would be under the OSU umbrella.
Gotcha.
You report to the OSU because I had the sweet spot where I could come down, I could train the team, but I could still run my own businesses. I could do everything else. And they were like, well, if he wants to keep training the team, he has to apply for this position. Well, in theory, that sounds great. Oh, now I can actually work for Ohio State. Well, that means I'm down there 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
I can't run my gym. I can't train my athletes out here. I definitely can't be endorsed by Max Everett.
Yeah.
You can't, if you work for Ohio State, you can't leverage your position as an employee to promote anything. So it was kind of like a no-brainer. I was like, well, I'm done then. It just is what it is.
And you're still involved in stuff, which is nice.
Yeah. It's still involved through the RTC. But it does feel good that, guys like you that were my guys then, it's not like once I left and quit training the team, like I never saw you again.
Yeah.
You guys still train with me in the summer. You still come out here, that type of thing. So,
but what I was getting, what I was getting at on that is that we did get blessed with another strength coach too, Kevin, who's awesome.
Yeah, he does a great job.
And we have that.
Love you, Kev.
Love you, Kev. You're watching that. If we have that bond, kind of how we do with you, and I just think that's super important for lifting in general. Like I don't know, because I feel like not everyone loves lifting, but if you have someone who like you or Kevin or those guys who you can create that relationship with and have that kind of fun, joking bond with, but still know how to work hard, it just makes it that much more fun and makes you want to do it.
I think, when you look at how hard wrestling is, especially for you guys, wrestling at the D1 level, wrestling in the Big Ten, it's so hard and so stressful. Even though lifting and conditioning and stuff is such an important part of that, it also, obviously the wrestling is way more important.
Yeah.
But the lifting might be the only fun thing you do that day when you're in there, So you have to, even though you got to take it serious and you have to try really hard, it needs to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
There needs to be, I don't want to say lightheartedness to it because that makes it sound like we don't lift hard.
Yeah.
But it has to be like almost mentally a break from the grind of the competition and from the room.
I agree with that. I had a big MO where days that I didn't want to be in the room. So you don't want to be in there. Days you wake up, you're like, I don't want to go drill my single leg. I don't want to go live for 30 minutes. So days that I definitely didn't feel like being there, I would take an extra effort to like wear a smile on my face, go around and like maybe pick on some of the younger guys or joke around. Because you do got to bring a lightheartedness to it, right? It's got to be enjoyable or it feels like a job, and then you start half-assing it. So you gotta make sure you're constantly, even some days you gotta force it, finding that love that you had when you were like 7 years old, your first time stepping on the mat.
And yeah, it's super important for guys like you and me or the leaders on the team to do that too, just because you have those younger guys who look up to you and kind of draw that energy from you. So,
well, I think if you're always walking around with a scowl on your face and whatever,
right?
they're going to feel that negative energy and they're going to feel like they have to be like that too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that's really a good
the
point.
Energy of the team was so contagious this year. It's like I took off basically the whole summer for my internship. So like when I came in, it was really hard for me to get going again.
Boxes.
I know they always mess because it was at DHL, but I was a human resources intern. But everyone just says I was just moving boxes for the summer.
Well, I remember you came out here and lifted a couple times at like 6, but then I think he was like, all right, this drive doesn't make sense.
It was that drive was. So
I think the logistics of it, you thought, well, it's out east, so it makes sense. But really, once you told me where it was like, it ain't even close to where I'm at. It was by the old gym, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the old gym would have been perfect because I had to pass it. But I'm like, oh no,
This is like another 20 minutes past it.
I would drive like 30. I drove like 37 to here, 20 something back to work. I'm like, that's a lot. So
well, that's why I didn't even like try to like get on you about like, hey, I thought we were gonna be trained all summer.
Yeah,
I was like, like the logistics of it just didn't make sense.
And
so much right.
He brought up a good point, which I think, I don't know, we can kind of talk about it a little bit. Is I think the importance of time off and having a break. I mean, I think that's kind of underrated as well. Because like he said, for example, he took the whole summer off. I didn't do a whole lot either. I just stayed lifting and stuff like that. I did little things here and there, but He legit took like the whole summer off.
I didn't wrestle. I did still do a few camps. My job or my internship let me have off because I already knew the dates before the summer. So I wrestled live with some high schoolers that I just beat up.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like I didn't do any training with the mindset of NCAAs. You know, so I did have a block of time where like it was basically like what I'm feeling right now. It was tremendous.
And I think it's super important too because I know obviously we talked a lot with each other about coming back for this extra year because at the time we were both like burnt out. We were kind of burnt out with wrestling and we were kind of wanting to be done. So
this was the 6th year, right?
Yes, this is when we were deciding to come back this year, and I think he could say the same thing. But obviously, we're both super grateful we did, and we probably had the best or like most fun year we've ever had. So we're so glad we did it. But at the time, like right after nationals, we were both kind of burnt out and we didn't really want to wrestle or do anything. And I think it's just super important that we did take that time off because if we would have maintained that mindset throughout and just try to train through it and everything, then that messes with your mind going out onto the mat when you're competing because you're like, I don't even want to be here. Yeah, like why am I doing this? I don't want to do it. I'm all burnt out. I don't want to wrestle, and that's going to affect your performance. So I think burnout is a real thing, and it's important to know when you need some time off or not.
Yeah, I remember last year when we were done with nationals, I was like, I didn't place. I was so upset. I was so down bad in the dumps. And then it was like, we get a week off, and then you got a 6:30 lift on Monday. And I was just like, no.
I'm laughing about
it's like,
one time.
I would honestly just be like, I would just say like, no, I'm not. But at least not. This was like a behavior that I've had over my years. It was specifically starting last year. I would just be like, no. I'm not going.
And it's because he knew. Well, he knew. Yeah, he was like, I can't be by wrestling right now. Like
I can't.
It'll
I wonder if they would have tried to force you, maybe you wouldn't have came back for this year.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? So I was looking forward to the start of my internship so much in that tiny little training period. I still had to work out with them, but I was at least transparent with them and was like, guys, if I don't want to wake up at 5:45 to make 6:30 live, I'm just not going to do it. That's just where my mindset was. And then once my internship started, I remember having a combo with Tom, and he's like, just don't do absolutely nothing. He's like, try and get some stuff in, you know, so you don't lose like everything you've built. He's like, but he was kind of for the break because I like had a.
He could tell that you needed it.
I had a conversation with him. I was super honest. Told him like the last place I want to be right now is in the wrestling room, and so once the internship started, I just did that. And then I started, that's what I was talking about earlier with the young guys, right? So I started coming back into the room a little bit once my internship was over. And at first, like I still had that like lethargic feeling. It was tough for me to get going again. And then you just see these young guys that are just like, they're just out hustling me so bad, like just making me feel like a lazy piece of garbage. So, and then so like that, you know, started to get me going, just seeing their energy and their excitement. They're hungry. They're on campus. Kind of revived me again, and it was just really cool to experience.
Yeah, I was cracking up at that because one time it wasn't too far after nationals, and so like we still were taking some time off, and Grundy, I texted him and I was like, yo, you wanna go roll around the room or something today? And his only reply, he didn't give me any explanation or anything. All he said was no, period. I'm like,
he didn't even try to make an excuse.
No, I just said no.
I'm like, oh, that's it. All right.
That's kind of where Colin's at now. With anytime I try to ask him to like go run or something, he just say no.
But you got to realize too, like where we are at in our situation. It's not like I'm sure we didn't really do this much in high school or anything. I know I didn't. Well, I did because of football, but you got to understand the grind that we've been through and what we were in. So like we needed time off, and the coaches were they were awesome about it. They were like, I mean, just communicate with us. We understand you guys have been wrestling in college wrestling for 5 years. Like it's not like you're gonna lose much of it.
You're not gonna forget how to wrestle.
Yeah. And so like we understand where you are. Just communicate with us, and we're with you guys. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been awesome to watch you guys, you know, over the years. Both incredible careers. I'm thankful that I was able to, help contribute early on and then continue to work with you guys over the years and, obviously build a good bond and friendship in the weight room too. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're grateful for you as well and everything. You've helped us along the way. So, yeah, we're super grateful for that.
So I got to ask, are you guys going to come out this summer to do the strongman workouts, to pull the truck and do stuff like that? I know you'll come out the bench, but I want to know, we had a great bench workout today.
Yeah, we did.
Because it's my choice and I'm not training for anything, I thoroughly do enjoy the strongman workout.
It's fun, right?
Like you're sweating, the doors are open,
pulling a truck to you,
out.
You know what I mean? Like that shit,
like
it's fun.
Just fun.
Because, it really does, looking back on it, every workout you do, like when you're training for something, even if it's like kind of a light day, like, in the back of your mind, like, I need to go as hard as I can this workout. So like every single workout that you do, basically when you're training, turns into, I got to give everything I have. Even though it shouldn't technically be like that, it's good to have like off days and light recovery days and stuff. But like, you just always know, like, if I take anything off, someone's going to be working harder than me and better, or like, and getting better than I am. So like when in those strongman workouts and everything, you just like, they're hard, they're super hard, and you just know you're going to kill yourself. And now, I mean, if we can tone it down,
just slow this. Maybe I'm not going to hit
it as
hard.
to.
That would happen so much. Like it was a recovery day, and maybe it was a Sunday after doing. I'd just go in for what was supposed to be like a 9:30 pace to just stretch and like get sweating a little bit to maintain my weight. And then a good song comes on. You're staring at that wall with all the national champions. Before you know it, it's like I'm doing sprints.
Right.
On a day I'm supposed to be recovering. So
well, dude, the crazy thing is, I mean, it makes sense why that would happen to you guys, but I'm old and I don't train for anything. And for years, that's how I trained. Yeah. I don't have no national championship I'm trying to win, but I would murder myself every run, every bike, every lift. And it was almost like a sickness. And I only just recently, within like the last year or so, have got to be like where I can be strategic and say, all right, these are my hard training days for the week. This is a recovery day. This is a day I'm just going to sauna and ice, maybe bike later. For the longest time, it was hard for me to make that switch. And I think it was from all those early years of me and Reese training together every day, where he was always training for either the U.S. Open or to make the world team or for the world championships, whatever. And so I just kind of got addicted to that feeling of it, and I couldn't break out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just not good for you long term, you know?
I feel like for me, I feel like I'm going to probably get in that mindset at one point again too. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks since nationals. so we're kind of in our fat boy phase where we're like, we don't want to work out. We don't want to do anything.
Well, the key is I think just not training like that every single day, because there's no date on the calendar of like the national tournaments in March.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the point that I want to get to is just from like a routine or like discipline standpoint. So no longer like I'm training for something, but instead just being like, hey, it's good for you.
It's a daily part of my life.
Just get something in. Even if it's 15-minute walk, like just do something physical every day. That's the kind of the point I want to get to. If it's more sustainable for.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we're on the subject of strength conditioning, I do have a new app that I got to plug real quick.
All right.
It's the Coach Myers Strength Conditioning app. So I had a membership website for a long time. This has been a huge upgrade. So it's actually an app. You have to go to CoachMyersStrength.com. Download the app, and it's all video based. So I put in there my wrestling strength training, so the same wrestling strength workouts that my high school kids, my elite guys do every week is loaded in there, and everything is video based. So every exercise, whether it's band pull aparts, what are these? Sumo deadlift, what's that? What do you mean by sprint relay? What do you click on it? It has the video right there, so it's super easy to figure everything out. Plus, I have in there youth strength conditioning. I have my 28-day shred, my pump and shred programs, my boxing programs. Tons of stuff in there. It's only $99 a year or $14.99 a month. Go to CoachMyersStrength.com. Download it today. And I guess one last question for you guys, since we're talking about strength training. You guys each give me one thing that you feel strength-wise, whether it was something you did in high school or when you were young or something that you learned later on here in college or whatever, that you feel like really helped and contributed to your game as a wrestler. It could be a conditioning thing. It could be a single workout. It could be one exercise. I've had people talk about, rope climbs, how they feel like rope climbs really just help their grip, or, whether it's a certain sprint workout or whatever. If you could think of one thing that you'd recommend for kids to do that's listening right now, what is it?
Strength and conditioning, you said?
Strength or conditioning, either one.
Honestly,
When I asked Logan this question, he said running without a doubt. He said learn how to run hard, which is good because a lot of strength coaches are anti-running. You know,
and I just learned about this year actually because I got injured. me and Sarge or Hoffman, our 197. We were injured for a couple weeks at the end of the season, and I couldn't wrestle or do anything. So I found a relationship with the Airdyne.
You were never a big Airdyne guy.
I was never an assault bike guy at all. I never did anything with the assault bike. And then Kev, our strength and conditioning coach, now he put up this thing called a Savage Protocol. And so
tell me the Savage Protocol. I want to learn.
So in the morning, it would be like 2 times a day. There was a bunch of different programs. In the mornings, it would be 20 seconds all out on, 10 seconds off, 20 seconds all out on, and we did that 4 times. And then you had a 2-minute break, and then you did it again, and you had to do it 12 times total. So I mean, a lot of these don't seem. If you've never done it, bike.
Anytime you do a 20-second go and then you have less recovery, jeez. Because even doing 20 and 40 is tough.
Oh, it's miserable. And then later on so that would be our morning workout. And then later in the day, we would do 2 minutes on the assault bike, red line though. So when our heart rate got in, we'd wear heart rate monitors. When they got in the red, then we had to hold that for 2 minutes. And then we would go straight to a inverted hold at the bar or on the what's it called, just a regular bench bar or whatever for a minute, and then straight to the skier for red line for 2 minutes, and then to
how long was the inverted hold?
1 minute.
1 minute.
So
okay.
the holds are 1 minute.
Gotcha.
So then we'd go straight to the skier for 2 minutes, red line, and then go straight to weight holds for 1 minute.
So you're sprinting and squeezing.
And then,
I love it.
And then back on the Airdyne for one more 2 minutes of red line, and then curl press for 1 minute, and then we did that 3 times through.
That sounds like a new age version of the old Roselli circuit.
Yeah. So we had, and then there was one more. I can't even think of what it is.
There's one that.
So high intensity stuff on the Airdyne. You're a huge believer in it.
Yeah.
You recommend kids get on the Airdyne, torture themselves.
Yeah.
I love it.
I would recommend the same thing. When I started having more juice in matches, more success, when I was doing more of this, more assault bike, more sprints in the morning.
I love this because you hear so many coaches, and I hate this when they say, "Well, you should get your cardio from wrestling." Well, of course you're going to get in shape. They're like, you get in shape for wrestling by wrestling. Of course you do, but you have to do this extra stuff too to supplement, because you're not always going to be able to redline yourself in practice every single day.
Exactly, and I am a big believer you get your cardio for wrestling because there's nothing like wrestling shape.
Of course,
but this is supplemental. This supplemental stuff makes the extra difference. And like Hoffman and I didn't wrestle for I think 4 weeks before Big Tens, and I wrestled maybe a couple days a couple days before Big Tens leading up to it, and I was back on the mat, and I made it maybe felt a little difference in conditioning because I didn't have that wrestling shape, but I made it back. I made it to the Big Ten finals with just the Airdyne.
No.
So
No, that stuff.
I'm hoping that that Schwinn is going to reach out and sponsor the podcast now after this huge plug we gave for the Airdyne.
Cool,
bike.
yeah.
If you guys saw it, I got 2 new Schwinn Airdynes out there, which I love.
Yeah, right there.
Those are the ones that got the handles like this on neutral grip instead of out here. I really like because it feels a little bit better.
I don't know.
You guys got the new assault bikes.
I like the assault bikes a lot.
Yeah, I like
I don't know.
We have.
I don't know really the difference between all of them, but I really do like the ones we have.
Well, they're all great. I mean, they all really work great. I have the Echo bike at my house. I got 2.
I don't like the Echo one.
No, so I love the Echo, but
you do?
I got the Airdynes here, the Schwinn Airdynes, and I got the old assault bikes here. So I spent a lot of time on all 3 over the years. But I got to say, I think the Schwinn Airdyne's the best one. Partially because the handles are here and it's like a shorter range of motion.
Yeah.
The Echo bike I probably like second because it's smooth, but it's like you got to reach real far. And I put the assault bike third.
Is the Echo the one where it takes a minute for it to get up to the wattage? Like I feel like when I go really hard on that one, it'll be like a second.
Where did you use
show
it at?
my max wattage at
because you guys
at the basketball weight.
Yeah, maybe they have them there. I was gonna say you guys have never had them at Jennings or at Steelwood. Steelwood used to be the old assault bikes. Now you got the new assault bikes. I rode them down there with Colin a couple times. I mean, I like them. Don't get me wrong. I think the Schwinn one's a little bit nicer, a little smoother though.
So in conclusion, the number one thing I would recommend to you is come in the morning or the evening, get a partner, do some high intensity drilling in certain positions you need help with, straight from that, and then do rounds on the assault bike.
Boom.
And weight holds.
Not
sprint and squeeze.
Yeah. Not the workouts that I was talking about. Those are separate on their own workouts, but just like minute, like what we basically do minute sprints, like 3 rounds through. We'll do like a minute on the assault bike, a minute squeeze, weight holds, and then back on the assault bike and just 3 rounds through.
Yeah, so
like it just short and quick.
Yeah, if you're pairing the two together.
To make it feel like you just wrestled another match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. All right, well, tell everyone where they can find you guys so they can kind of follow along with, like, life after wrestling for you guys. Where is it?
Yeah, so
if they want to reach out for camps, anything like that?
my Instagram, pretty much all my social media is Kaleb Romero 7,
and mine
I think
is
that's it.
E. Smith Grundy. Everything is the same.
I think mine's all the same too.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I appreciate you guys coming on today. It was fun.
We appreciate you, man.
Thanks
Thank you.
for having us.
We're out.